Intern and J. Stevens, watching documentaries so you don't have to. 104.7 The Cave.
104.7 The Cave, Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens in the studio for episode 244 of Dark Side of the Stream. This week was my pick, the new documentary series on HBO Max, Billy Joel, and So It Goes.
Yeah. Dude.
Did you know anything about this guy before? I
I knew a little bit, but I did not know as deep.
Like, just off the top of your head, did you like Billy Joel?
Yeah. I always thought Billy Joel was good songwriter and just a kind of a more rockin' version of Elton John, I felt like.
Did you ever see him?
No, never did.
Never saw him live?
Never saw him live, no.
You missed out. Unbelievable. I saw him twice, and both times just unbelievable performer, band. I mean, you got to remember that the last original album he did he did a classical album, which was his final studio album, which is actually really
very
incredible.
crazy,
we'll get
right?
into that
Very
stuff.
crazy.
But River of Dreams was his last studio album, really, and I mean, for him that's 30 years ago to continue his career,
yeah,
and just continue just to perform.
With nothing new material.
And you know.
Can we talk about his heavy metal years too? Because I thought that was the coolest.
Going to.
That was the coolest.
I just wanted to. I was just curious to see how much you knew. I am a massive, massive Billy Joel fan. I have been for a long time. I believe that The Stranger is arguably one of the greatest pop records ever written and recorded. It's definitely in the top 5, if not top 3, front to back. It's a masterpiece. Now, you got a guy like Billy Joel who was the principal songwriter, but you cannot discredit the band that he had at the time, and you cannot discredit Phil Ramone as the producer. It is the perfect storm of all those things, and he would admit that too. In addition to his muse, his first wife Elizabeth, which we'll get into that stuff too. But
he's a very unlikely star. Like, he's not like some charismatic figure.
He's just a short guy from
an
Long
average
Island.
Dude from Long Island.
But he was incredibly talented and an incredibly gifted songwriter, musician, vocalist, piano player,
and a troubled soul. That's what I learned from this. Very troubled soul.
We'll get into that too. But I thought the way they broke this up into 2 parts was brilliant, because the first part of his life with his mom, and then early, like Jay mentioned, with the hassles that he was in, and then Attila, which was the metal
prog band
duo
when he had long hair,
a keyboardist.
Google Attila the band. Googled it.
It's literally a heavy metal keyboard drum band,
and he's singing high, oh my gosh,
and they're running keyboard through like amps, and stuff.
Through stacks.
It's a really interesting take, but then you're like, this is the same guy who would write Piano Man, and She's Got Away, and Just the Way You Are, and like so on and so forth. But
he gets getting ripped off. There's so much like
we're still in the first part,
bro.
But again, like I said, they broke this into 2 halves, and the first half is largely focused on that period up through the dissolution of his first marriage with Elizabeth. Now, I'm so glad that they spent so much time not only talking about Billy and his life, but also her. Because it's like I was telling Christopher when we were watching this, and I'm getting goosebumps, like through like Glass Houses and all that stuff, every single love song that man wrote
about this chick
was about her.
One girl.
Just the Way You Are.
I thought it was all made up scenarios.
She's Got Away. Literally every love song that he wrote was about her.
And by the way, it was his drummer's wife.
Yeah.
First of all,
again, that whole situation is crazy because he's with his best friend.
Yeah.
They're in a band together. His wife and they have a kid. They all live as a family unit. And eventually, Billy falls in love with her, and he tells him, and he's like, "Hey, I'm in love with your wife." He beats him up.
Yeah,
she's like, "I can't I can't deal with this," and she takes off, and he just goes into a spiral.
Yeah.
Tries to OD. Goes to the hospital for a coma, then gets out and tries to drink bleach and tries to kill himself that way.
Dude.
And the drummer, who he had an affair with the wife, is the one that saves him in that regard. So you got to see.
This story is incredible, dude.
You got to see it for what it really is. And as a person who suffers from depression, who understands what depression is, who also is manic, who also has issues with addiction, and who also is a hopeless romantic, whenever he talks about that stuff and his inability to communicate and the way he was going through, I know exactly what he's feeling. I know exactly what he's going through because I suffer from that stuff. And I see it. I see it in the way it turns into the spirals and the alcoholism and all the things that he does, dude, and how we deal with it in one way or another. He while being troubled, his Sean, the kid with Elizabeth, not his kid, but the kid that he helped
Stepson,
raise. He said, for the things in his inability to communicate how he felt, you also have to consider that instead of being able to do that, he did it through song. And that in itself is
what fueled
just,
the music,
Oh my God!
Yeah.
He can't tell you or have a communication with that kid or his wife or whoever, but he can write it in prose and then turn it into one of the greatest pop songs you've ever heard in your life.
Amazing songs, dude.
So good. And this is just the tip of the iceberg as we discover Billy Joel on this episode of Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. Jay Stevens, Mike the Intern, back in the studio. It's Dark Side of the Stream episode 244. Billy Joel, and so it goes. So I didn't want to spend the whole time fanboying about him because I could literally spend the next 30, 45 minutes talking about how much I love him. And his ability to, they talk about the critics and his back and forth. It doesn't matter what the critics say. Gene Simmons said it best. If you've got 1 million people in that stadium, you're a success. If you've got Paul McCartney saying, when people ask me, what song would you wish you wrote? And he says, Just the Way You Are.
By Billy Joel.
You know you've made it.
Yeah, that
dude is a Beatle, and he is arguably one of the greatest songwriters of all time. You go back to his upbringing. And his dad was a classical piano player, and how he hated school. At one point, telling his mom, "I'm not going to Columbia University. I'm going to Columbia Records. And you don't need a diploma there."
Yeah,
well, he's right.
He's right, and he did.
But he, the story about how he learned the style of composition so that he could trick his parents into thinking he was practicing, but he knew how to play Bach. He knew how to play Beethoven.
He could fake it,
and
it wasn't even Bach. But he goes, "Oh yeah, it's another piece by Bach." But it's something he was working on.
It's huge, and a big part of what I want to talk about in this segment is that early on he figured out the language of music so well that he could almost manipulate it like the Matrix. That is a true gifted master at their craft, where you could sit down and take Uptown Girl, for example, and he plays it and he goes, I'm just lifting Beethoven.
Yeah.
And so he
made it sound like Beethoven.
Like Frankie Valli, in the Seasons, and it's like this huge poppy, like,
but then he played it like Beethoven style.
But then you pull it back and go back to how the chord structure is created, and it is. And that's how he plays it.
Yeah.
And so again, like, you can call him whatever he is, but the idea that he could literally take stuff and change it and make it what he wanted, and in his vision and his idea of what melody should be, and counterpoint with progression. I mean, I'm getting into music theory stuff, but to me, as a person who plays music, I don't want to speak for Jay, who understands the language of music and how it moves through movements and melody and progression and resolution and tension and all those things that I identify with. He's one of the best.
Yeah, see, I didn't know it was that deep, man. As far as that goes, I didn't know all these songs were actually about one woman, which is just
up through
crazy.
A point. I mean, then after that, it's about Christy.
Yeah,
too,
and then I know the dude was dating supermodel and stuff, and I'm like, how is this guy getting supermodels? And then the way he meets the supermodels, it's just this dude ended up in the right spot at the right time all the time, man.
Well, that'll be a great lead into our next conversation on Dark Side of the Stream, episode 244. Billy Joel, and so it goes. Next on 104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. It's Dark Side of the Stream, episode 244. Billy Joel, and so it goes. So you made a good point, and the last thing that I wanted to focus on, and this was a big thing, is when you're a musician, the right place, right time thing rarely happens to anyone, right?
Yeah.
With Billy, it happened multiple times.
Yeah.
It happened. They got regional success with his first band, the Hassles.
And then
they
things
break
fell
that
apart.
Up. Then he goes into Attila, and it was
falls
okay,
apart.
but the reason it falls apart, he's having an affair with the drummer's wife.
Yeah,
then he goes
that'll do
off, and he gets basically picked up by the guy who creates the Woodstock Festival. And then he has switched labels with this guy named Artie, who lived in L.A. So he flies out to L.A., starts living in California, rekindles with Elizabeth. Everything's going good. It makes his first record, but then Artie screws up the mix and speeds it to a 45 single
Sounded
speed.
terrible.
And even to this day, like you can find, I'll put this out. Go look for the '83 remix because they slow it down and it's pitched correctly. Even to this day, though, Billy still says that it's not.
Well, and he gets ripped off by a manager.
Well, that was the first. We're not yet. We're not there yet. He's ripped off too, because Artie was the first one who ripped him off. You got to think about that deal that he made with Artie in the beginning. After that first record comes out, he's pissed off about how they mixed it, how they're not really doing any promotion for it. In the meantime, he hooks up with Clive Davis, who Clive at Columbia is like, this guy's the guy. We need to get him out of this contract. Well, Artie's like, nah, I put an investment into this thing. You're not taking anything. And really, for the next decade, Artie got a quarter of every record sold.
I think they said in the documentary that Piano Man, right? Probably arguably his biggest song. That
he made $7,000.
That Billy Joel made $7,000 off. That was all he made
because
off that.
Artie had put the money out in the beginning to invest in this artist.
That is insane.
Talk about an ROI, man. Yeah. Win, lose, or draw. Even Billy said it himself. No one else gave me a chance at that point. He did.
Yeah, I mean,
and it was a bad deal, but it was the only deal I had. Then his wife would take over his career and help manage it, and from that point on, it looked like everything was good up until he got. Again, he battles issues with alcoholism, and she finally they went their separate ways.
But it was almost like a documentary about her as well, because
that first part, like I said, that's what I said.
Took over as boss lady and made calls and made moves.
That's why I said it. I was so happy when I watched it.
Perfect pair.
Knowing all that stuff before it, because it wasn't really it was known to people in the business, or if you went further.
I had no clue.
But like, I'm so glad that she got the credit that she is duly deserved, and I'm sure Billy would, because she was his muse for so long. Now, again, after that, she walks away. He's like, I'm gonna get your brother-in-law or your brother to do this, and she's like, no. He doesn't know anything about this stuff. What you said was what he had looked at it for a long time. I don't want to deal with the business. I'm an artiste, and that's what I do. But as he would find out, if you're doing that, again, they were talking when Christy Brinkley was talking about that story about them going down the East Coast and they're on family vacation, and every time they'd stop in these little towns, someone would say, "Hey, you bought a horse from us."
Yeah,
like,
hey,
what?
you bought a house from me.
No,
and he's like, "No, I didn't buy a house from you.
You bought this boat from us," and he was like,
"Bro."
No. And she was the one who figured it out. Also, I'd also like to mention that you could almost tell that she's still not really over him.
Yeah,
I got that vibe.
I was almost thinking, are they still together while I was watching this?
He's been married twice. He's still with his current wife, but he's been married twice.
Can we just backpedal 1 second? Dude goes down and takes a break. He's on vacation in the Caribbean at a little bar. He sees a piano. Billy Joel just figures he's going to sit and play at this little beach bar piano. Turns out all these supermodels are doing a photo shoot down the street. Hey, Billy Joel's over there. Let's go. Dude, he meets Christy Brinkley, Whitney Houston. They all show up at this little piano gig.
He meets Christy, and then he meets Elle, who then's trying to be like, oh, I'm better than Christy. And then another model is like, I can sing, and Billy's like, whatever.
Okay,
and she starts singing, and it's Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
She was on a modeling gig before she got signed.
Random, in the middle of this small town, this random hookup.
Little, Jewish, burnt to a crisp dude from Long Island.
All these supermodels gawking over him.
So he hooks it up. But again, right place, right time. And he got so many good examples of those where, there are so many stories that we're leaving out in this thing.
Yeah,
it's a long.
It's a lot. It's a lot, man.
2.5 hour long.
And the constant uphill battle with alcohol, and it's rough, man.
It is, and
I feel very bad for him on a lot of points. It's very sad for him.
I don't know why you do. He said that. Again, you cannot.
He's a very troubled soul, man, and he's like, at one point he had no more money because he got ripped off. And he had to just go make it back.
And then he lost his marriage because of that. But he didn't really have to do that. Sting, or one of the famous dudes is talking about, was like, we don't make music to make money. We make music because it's what we have to do. We have to get it out. And he's that type of person. And again, you can't feel.
He just wanted love too. He just wanted love, and he couldn't.
But then again, he's got a perfect family, and you got a wife like Christy Brinkley calling bars in New York to find out which one you're at.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
I know, dude.
We make those choices. Make no mistake. We make those choices. And he made it clear after he went and institutionalized himself after his suicide attempts.
Right.
They weren't going to do that again. I don't think he talked. Maybe he does talk to a therapist, but there are definitely parts in his life where he probably could have used some serious therapy, but instead he chose to turn it into prose and turn it into song. And good, bad, or indifferent, it is what it is. We'll be back with our review of it next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. Jay Stevens, Mike the Intern, back in the studio one more time. It's Dark Side of the Stream, episode 244. We did Billy Joel, and so it goes. Hands down, perfect score. I'm giving it a 5, my man.
Me too. Hands down, perfect score. It's very rare we do perfect scores, but I mean, there's a lot. Like we said, there's a lot in this documentary, but I learned a lot about him and just really gained respect for him, you know. I know he had a lot of bangers, but I didn't know he had that many bangers. Forgot about those bangers.
Now, granted, and I said it before, and it's mentioned many times in the documentary, sometimes he bring pieces. Scenes from an Italian Restaurant is a great example where that's like 5 songs that Phil Ramone's like, hey, put this here, put this here, put this here.
Arranged a little bit.
Failure. When they're talking about Greg and Ken's relationship, and Ken goes, he's the artistic one. He's the one that just has all these different ideas. And then you cut to Greg and goes, Ken's a finisher.
Yeah.
Ken finishes. I don't finish.
Yeah, gotcha.
That's a really good response of how that Phil and Billy relationship probably lasted for so long, and how it worked was because when you find that groove where one person can then fill in the gaps where you can't see, it's beautiful.
Side note, I almost forgot to mention, I am in a Billy Joel video. I'm in the Allentown video. My dad did a couple videos for him. My dad won an award for Best Visual Effects for Pressure video. That screen, the kids looking out. I was supposed to be the kid in Pressure, but somehow scheduling with my thing didn't work out. But I was a brief little part in Allentown video. So there you
go. It was good in that vein to see that, and also see that him and John repatched and ended up working for him through all those years together, which I thought was good.
Yep. The brother-in-law, he can go suck right off. That brother-in-law.
I think that's a great way to put this. As always, you can watch.
What are we watching next week?
I don't know. It's your pick. I picked this one.
I think I've got another 5-star banger. I think so. This summer marks the 50th anniversary of Jaws, the movie. So there's a documentary on Hulu, I think it is, Jaws at 50.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And it's
you know who loves Jaws? Ollie. Loves that movie. Don't know why.
Doesn't freak him out?
Don't know why.
The dude doesn't like cartoon characters in suits.
Doesn't like going to big pools.
Doesn't like Donkey Kong mask in your office, but he likes.
But loves Jaws.
Jaws?
I don't understand it.
Whoa. Ollie, all right.
He's a very confused and conflicted child.
That's what we're watching next week.
Yeah, okay, cool. It sounds good to me. I love that movie. As always, you can watch us do this Thursdays at 9 or 6 p.m. During Jay's show, Facebook, YouTube, or download it for free as a podcast on 104.7 The Cave. I'm Mike the Intern.
I'm Jay Stevens.
Reminding you, we watch movies so you don't have to. Dark Side Stream on 104.7 The Cave.
Yeah, the Jaws.
There's just so many things about this documentary.
So much. We could have gone on for
I wanted to talk about how Vienna is like become this huge hit now with like kids, because that was always one of my favorite songs on that record, and it's about his dad, and it's about him and his dad, and